Hi everybody, it's Steve Olson. It is September 26th, 2016, Monday, and I'm starting out with a Core 1 photograph from over the weekend. It's the time space, and I don't know if you remember on the weekend update, we were looking at this kind of circular object up here, and I was making fun of it and everything like that. Well, somebody was kind enough to give me a time lapse, and what happens is this little orb jumps around, and then check this out. This is like the magnetic signature. Boing, boing. We get one, it moves from here to here, or two of them, and then it moves again. So this is just strange behavior that we're noticing from the sun that seems to indicate that something weird. Here's two of them together is going on. Thought you might be interested in that. So next thing I wanted to show you. This is good old stereo ahead Core 2 2016. This is from yesterday. Again, we're getting that strange string of three objects in a single frame, and one of them seeming to be eclipsed. So if it is some kind of refraction of the sun, my first question would be, why is it partially eclipsed? So again, another strange phenomenon for us to consider and think about. This next thing I wanted to show to you really is a picture from the ISS, and the reason I wanted to show it to you is just for the one simple reason that it is a lot of red dust in the atmosphere right now, and people are noticing it. By the way, I'm getting a lot of reports that people are seeing rust oxide in their grass and in their lawnmowers and stuff, and I just think it's getting close. Whatever this is, I think it's starting to dump its iron oxide dust onto us. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. The next thing I want to look at is, this is FLIR. I've got a FLIR camera now, and what we're doing with it, what I'm starting to do with it, is just try to take different pictures of different sky situations. And right here, right away, you'll notice this is the sun, and you'll notice that it's got a black center to it again, just like what we see in the light spectrum, which is kind of unusual, don't you think? Because this isn't light. This is a thermal imager, and then you've got a little bit less heat here, perhaps from the artificial sun, and I believe what you see behind these two objects is our real sun. And I'll just kind of let you kind of sit with that. But when you look at it through the FLIR, you'll notice that it kind of goes, and you can see something is definitely moving in the frame. This next picture is very strange, because at first it looks like, what? You've got the halo going on, you got some kind of strange thing going on in here. You kind of zoom in on it, you go, what is that? So you run it through a little bit of photo treatment, and what do you get? Some damn thing with a big G in it. Like a special delivery for G. I don't know what to say about that. It's not Photoshop, because I went and broke it down, but it is stranger than, well, it's stranger than fiction, quite frankly. This next photograph, if anybody has been around the Nibiru community as long as many of us, first thing you're going to notice is that this object showed up again. What it is, it's an orb with a big hole in it, but it goes so fast that it just zips right by the camera, like in under a second, apparently, or under a minute, apparently, in one frame. It actually makes the whole motion here. A lot of people think that's God running around. That's what some people think, or the one, or the great consciousness getting ready to make it all happen. Others think and NASA doesn't know what it is. Nobody knows what it is, really. So I guess we call it God or infinity or whatever you want to call it. What is interesting here is that you've got this like strange obfuscation in the SREM band there, which I thought was noteworthy, because I thought that was a flare coming off. I didn't think there would be any solid as the occulting device coming off on there. Is that some kind of a false occultation going on in there? And I'll just draw in on it a little bit so you can see it. Strange enough that we got Mr. Weird going by here, but even stranger is this, what is going on here? That clearly is some kind of a line or weirdness going on there. And why does the flare almost take on the same characteristics as the occulting disc in the SREM band, which is interesting. This next one, again, this is one of the Skycam photos blown up, but again, showing that weird rocky object in the Skycams with multiple lights on it. Now, this is where we're going to have Terrell Blackstar back on the show again, and he thinks that everything that we see is just a lens flare anomaly or whatever. A lot of people do. But with the revelations from Sam Hoffman and others, I've been led to believe that what we really have is we've got a lot of stuff going up. The signs are in the heavens, as Jesus had predicted. The signs are in the heavens. It's just that they're being blocked. So guess what? Mr. Watchman, Steve Olson, and all his buddies have to come and show it to you so that you know there are signs in the heavens. And that's kind of where Terrell and I are going to have a big discussion this week. But yeah, Terrell and I have our differences, but you want to know one thing that Terrell and I have in common? A sound faith in Jesus Christ. That's what we have in common. All right, so here's one from Scott over at the Nibiru channel. He sent it over to me. I didn't get any of the details on it, but it looks strangely a lot like the object that we've been seeing that we saw above the sun back in March and April, and now it's disconnected from the sun or the moon, and it appeared as the moon until they zoomed in on it and saw that it was green in color and had little spots in it. Interesting stuff, right? And then finally, I wanted to go to some FAA cams and stuff like that and just do this little short update today to let you know that the activity is high. We are getting EBS warnings from all over the place. And before we end up here, I'm going to take you through a couple of websites and just show you some of the stuff that's going on that's really got my attention right now. And maybe should be some things that we look at, keep our heads up. Okay? Here we go. These are the things that kind of have my attention. Well, first of all, the asteroid, right? So let's talk about the asteroid for a second before we move off, because I think it's important to understand that while I was skeptical of what was going on, I think there's plenty of evidence that, that I've been seeing that would suggest that NASA and the world powers, Russia or whatever, may have been successful in diverting a rock to our planet. And I've seen enough debris trails and a lot of fireballs in the last couple of days that says that maybe it was a real close call. So don't be so fast to throw people that were getting the reports that we were being approached by an asteroid over the bridge too quickly, even though I wasn't one of them. The point is that I did see a lot of evidence that something was going on. Now, again, this goes to Zodiac 13th sign. This goes to, pretty soon they're going to tell us that the year is 370 days, I swear to God. So here's one where we're going to see another rare black moon. The last one was March of 2014. Black moon meaning the most common definition is a second new moon in a calendar month. And that is something I don't remember, guys. I'm 52 years old. I keep forgetting how old I am. 52 years old, and I don't remember this. And it's just funny how they proactively come out and show this before people can notice the most obvious signs of something is wrong. And to me, a second black moon would indicate that we've tilted so much, or our orientation to the moon has changed so much that it creates a second black moon every certain number of days. This is me just listening to Art Bell. I like Art Bell. Now, here's the space weather page, and they've been talking about this big whale spout, and I really want you to go to the sunset from Mila Zakova from Pacifica, California, when something strange. It is split into multiple layers, and a green flash appeared. I just go check it out. Or the next thing I wanted to show you was Ben Zavun YouTube channel. Not a big channel, but check out what he's been capturing lately. He's got these at the Farewell Split. He's been recording this phenomenon, which I think is pretty interesting. But this is just one sample of it. Here, I'll show it to you. This time I'll turn up my speed a little bit. So what you see here is a stationary object. Okay? And some would say that's something on a lens. It's not. I've seen this many, 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 many times. Now, the question I have, is it a planet or is it part of the shield system? Because that's where I'm starting to go now. These stationary objects in the sky and these dark orbs that we see, a lot of that stuff could be, the thing. Now, as far as the lens flare is concerned, though, isn't it interesting that we saw this in the Magnetos Core 1, and then we also see it in the visible light spectrum as we look at either lens flare or some other visual phenomenon like a refraction. But again, I don't discount refractions. And look at this big black orb right in the middle, man. I think that's pretty trippy. But again, I think sometimes when we see these refractions, I've debated if it's a planet, this one right here, if it's a planet or an object, or is it part of the shielding system. So again, I do think that these are real. I've seen so many, and what this is just a partial illumination of an object, and then light obfuscation and redirect, so the focal point is gone. So I really want to go back on that a little bit. There's some other objects that I didn't notice in the first time I looked at this. Now look over here. Similarly, we've got seemingly fixed objects over in the sky over here. Unbelievable. Good piece of footage. And I encourage you to go check out Ben's study on the Farewell Split. He's got several other videos on that, and I think it would be cool for you to check out. Now, this is interesting. So now this just again, every time I look around, there's another thing that I would expect to see with an approaching planetary body or system. One of those things would be lots of unusual electromagnetic activity. So again, as I show you piece after piece of evidence, no one piece of evidence will stand on its own. It's when you corroborate these things together that a case starts to emerge, similar to how a detective might work in a police environment, right? So on September 18th, he catches this A-bomb sprite. Now, could it be from an A-bomb? We don't know, right? But it was in the direction of Orion, which I thought was interesting, and it was just out of nowhere. But let's take a look at this little video here, if they do it without a commercial here. And that was the extent of the sprite. See? This is what I would expect to see if something was kind of coming down, coming towards us. And again, that's from Puerto Rico in terms of the details of where it's from. And then the Skywatch Media News rather is a channel that I like to go to for footage and different things like that. And what they're doing is they're going in depth to try to figure out what those rockets were that went up over the last couple of days. And then the news channel 428 I asked a great question, and we're going to start asking this question Wayne and I were talking about the other day, is why are the objects speeding by the H1 and H2 so fast? And then similarly, why aren't we talking about 16 million mile per hour solar storm hits? Because we actually recorded the other day, if you'll remember, when Mercury passed the sun, we saw a huge coronal burst, and nobody talked about it. They said it's a quiet sun. From a martial law perspective and just watching things and stuff, disturbingly, I saw another trail of tanks and military vehicles approaching large cities, and now we're seeing unmarked military vehicles in New York City, which could be for the UN for sure. But what I probably would be more likely to say is they're unmarked. Why isn't there U.S. Army markings on these vehicles? Go check it out on this the Truth Channel. Now, I don't agree with everything that these channels talk about, but I think these stories are interesting. And these military vehicles don't have any unit markings, no flags, no pride, no nothing. The men, I couldn't see any markings, any rank, any serial numbers. Who are these people in these tanks and trucks and stuff? Because I don't think it's the U.S. Army, because they put the insignia on their stuff. Well, I just want to think about it more and more. I just don't like this. I don't like the way things just are slowly progressing. It's not like one day we have martial law. It's like, oh, look, there's trucks and tanks in the streets of New York. Well, that's no big deal. It's the UN. Well, nobody stops to ask the question, why aren't there any markings on these vehicles? Who do they belong to? Anyway, let me just leave you guys with all this, okay? This world scene, the world points of conflict, wars, rumors of wars, and signs in the heavens. It's all coming together, and it's all so prophetic and biblical that I can't help but refer to it. And there can only be one reason why you're being shown this, is so that you have a warning and have some time to put your heart into the very, very beautiful, blessed hands of Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. That could be the only reason that you're listening to this. Or it could be that you're just interested in science. But no matter what you decide to do, man, I hope to see you on the channel again soon, and thanks for watching.